Hello. We're back here again today. If there's anybody here, if you're early, can we just see some response? So hit me with a comment if you're here and ready for Sultan. Today's speaker is gonna be joining any moment, so let's just be patient for a few minutes. But yeah, we're here. It's exciting. We're about to have a dope session once again. All right, we're just waiting for people to show up, and we're good. Okay. Yeah, I think we're starting to have a few people. That's great.
Okay.
Um, Sultan, yeah, I just added you. Welcome, bro. How's it going?
I'm good. I'm good. How you doing, Chief?
You're live. I know it's a bit weird because you cannot see the people that you're talking to.
Actually,
but,
I really just this
but
actually the first
trust me,
I'm on open
is
like
this the
as
first
a
time you're using Hopping?
like guest speaker.
Oh, gotcha.
I'm always one
But
joining.
yeah, you're usually on the other side of me.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I assure you, there are people here. Some people have already started dropping comments, but
No
as
good.
we go along, you're gonna see the responses you get from everyone else. But yeah,
Yeah.
welcome, Sultan. How's it
Um.
going? How's your week
I'm
so far?
good.
This
I'm good.
Friday.
Yeah, I'm good. It
Yeah,
has been a very uneventful week for me. There's just been chilled, and I've been also looking forward to this session. So I think it's a
yeah.
it's a good wrap to the week for me.
I've been me so I've been looking forward because like I'm really interested in upgrading my writing skills. But yeah, guys, we're here again. Give it up for Sultan. This is day 2 of week 2 or day 3 of week 2. I can't keep track anymore, man. We're just going. But yeah, we have Sultan Quadri. I'm gonna give him a chance to introduce himself and talk about who he is, in his own words. But I guarantee you that by the end of this session, you would have learned a few practical things that will be necessary for building your skills as we go along. So yeah, give it up for Sultan. Sultan, the floor is yours. Tell us who you are. Let's know a little bit about yourself before we jump into what we're talking about today. And
Okay,
guys,
great.
let's ginger in the comments. Let's ginger for Sultan.
Thank you, Jizzy. Thank you, Jizzy. So I'm Sultan Quadri. I'm a journalist and I'm a writer. I've been writing for 3 to 4 years. So I got into writing via like Twitter. So there was a time I was always like tweeting a lot. So someone gave me my I think Opera News gave me my very first job. So since then I've been doing lots of stuff around the media space. And my most recent job was at Tech About where I worked for a year and a half just writing about tech and tech happenings in the entire in Africa and in Nigeria. I've done a lot of writing and I've also had the chance to work with editors that have also improved my writing. I think this is also an opportunity for me to like just speak about what I've learned in the past 1 or 2 years and see if I can at least improve others writing. Yeah.
Awesome, man. Sounds good. Awesome. All right, man. Let's get to it. Let's talk about what we're going to be talking about today. I know that, like, for me, writing was the first thing that in terms of like creativity, writing was the first thing that I came across, right? And
Okay.
because um it was like that for me because I read a lot when I was a kid, right? And I'm not going to like bubble you guys and say I was reading physics or anything like that. I read a lot of storybooks. Like I used to love storybooks, like all of the fairy tale treasury, all of like the fantasy like storybooks, Jack and the Beanstalk, all of them. Like I grew up on those books. And my brother was also like an engineer, and I came from a family of people who like just read a lot. So I was surrounded by books. So when I started writing, I started writing at like maybe 12 years old, right? I had like a personal, because this was the days of like Tumblr and like blogs and stuff, right?
Yeah,
So,
you're
um,
old.
I'm not that old, bro. I'm a 90s kid. But like, I'm not ashamed to say this, but like, I had Tumblr, then I had like WordPress. and I started writing just my thoughts, right? Which, just things that I used to think about a lot back then. But I didn't really have any direction as to like what the principles of writing was or what it meant. I was just writing anyhow. And then after a while, like I can say for a fact that writing opened the door into like exploring other creative avenues for me, right? Which is why I'm particularly excited about this session. So how did it actually start for you? Like when did you decide that you were going to be a writer, or how did you know that like writing was something you were good at, right? Because before a company like Tech About or any of the guys that you've worked for
Okay.
hired you to write, there must have been something they saw. So like what was that story from when you discovered that talent to becoming a professional writer, so to speak? If you can just walk us through that, I think that might be great.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So looking back now, I think I've always known that I was going to become a writer. And at some point, I really fought it and I wanted to do something else. So when I was like very young, I was reading my mom's non-fiction books. I was reading The Lion and the Joe by Wole Soyinka. I was reading The Man of the People by Chuna Achebe. The classics generally, African literature generally. As I was
Oh,
growing up, my dad got me an Encyclopedia Britannica. My um, okay, I can do that.
yeah,
My
don't worry
dad
about it, Sultan. I will just type it in the comments for him.
Okay,
Just go
good.
ahead.
So my dad got me an Encyclopedia Britannica. My mom got me dictionaries. He got me multiple stories, Pocahontas and the likes. And because they knew what I really enjoyed doing was just to read. So reading was something that I've always done. And so when I got to school, my my all my English teachers, like, they really loved me. They were like, Sultan, yeah, come to the class, explain this, read, and all that. So I know I had an affinity for words, for speaking words, and for writing words. So um, I was like, okay, yeah, this is something I can do. It was just like a talent, but I didn't really think much about it. And even though when I was in secondary school, I was also like reading newspapers. Like my uncle got complimentary newspapers, so he gets the Guardian, This Day, and a couple others. And he just brings them home and just he dumps it with me because he knows that I will read them. He knows that I will read them. So I'm one of those people. I know that other people that do that enjoy reading newspapers. So I was doing that. I when I was in like senior secondary school, I was also good in literature and English. I was one of the best students in literature and English. But at some point, I didn't really want to become a writer because I felt it was a predetermined career path for me. So I wanted something more exciting. But I didn't pursue writing for a bit. Even though when I was younger, I was writing short stories. I showed my mom. It was just like I was exploring. So I didn't write professionally until 2019. And that was because I was new on Twitter. I was like using Twitter like more. I was very active on Twitter, and I was tweeting a lot actually. I was tweeting a lot, and then a recruiter from Opera just texted me and said, "We're looking for writers, and they would love to hire." I said, "Oh, fine, sure." And that was how I got my first media job. I was 18 at the point at that time, so I was 18. So and the very next one was my 19th birthday. So my first job was at Opera, so I was getting paid good money. And I think I was getting paid 60,000 a month, or even more than at Opera News, and compared to most people that I know that started as writers like young they were paid peanuts. So I was earning like lots of money, so I was encouraged to write. I went through 3 articles a day, and in a week I could write 10 or some days 15. So I was doing that until I felt like, yeah, I'm not interested in doing this anymore. So one thing that I do is that I get uncomfortable easily. So once I realize that this job, this career path is not serving me anymore, so I do this kind of self audit maybe after 6 months or after a year. and I realized that I don't really enjoy what I'm doing anymore, or the job or the career path is not adding as much value as I expected. I would switch. So I left my job at Opera News and I started hunting for new things to do. So what I did was that I founded my own media startup called People's Check, and People's Check is a fact-checking media organization. So what we do is that we publish like every other media house, but what we our own work is a little bit more um more niche. So we fact check COVID-19 claims back then. That was in 2020 when I launched it in April 2020. I was the editor in chief. I was the founder. I was the social media manager. I was a lot of things. So
Yeah, everything basically.
I was looking. And how do I even get people to like work with me? I had fellow university students because I was still in university then. I was 19 then. That's when I was 19. I had a lot of friends in different universities, so I connected a lot of people, and I brought them on board. So what I did was, while running the organization as the founder, as the editor in chief, I was also training people, getting them to like understand fact checking because it was still like it was still very new then. Fact checking got popular in 2020, and I did that because of the COVID-19 virus, and because there's a lot of misinformation and fake news around COVID-19. So it was one of the reasons why we established People's Check then. So after like a month or two, I got a grant, a $2,000 grant from a non-profit in the US. So
Funds, too much
so,
funds.
it was like it was a big deal because we were just starting out. I mean, doing money to like do a lot of stuff, so we just got to work. I had more people. I started paying them stipends. We I don't know if I'm talking too much here, but
No, no, no. Go ahead, bro. Of course.
so we we um we created a campaign called I think Verify Nigeria. So what we did was that we were creating fact checks on a blog. We were creating audio. We had podcast on Apple on different platforms. We had podcasts. We were making videos, and we're also making graphics cards. So if for example we see that people are confused about COVID-19 vaccine, we create a graphics card where we explain COVID-19 vaccine, so we can just fill that information gap. So I did that for from April to that year to like December. Like I burnt out, and I just bounced. I bounced. I had to like pack up the startup. I left the startup in December of that year. And it's important to note that that same year I was already freelancing for the likes of Steers Business. I don't know if anyone knows Steers Business. So I was trying my hands on business reporting. I'm really interested in um, understanding how businesses work. So I wrote for Sales Business. I wrote two articles for them in 2020. So the next year I was also like looking at what I would do. Then the easiest thing that at least the one that clicked for me, I tried. Trust me, I tried my hands on a lot of things. I tried coding. It didn't just work. I wasn't just. I didn't have. I didn't have that passion. I got bored easily. I tried video editing. I couldn't. It was just too boring. I'm getting it. I was editing. I was cutting credits and all of that, but I discovered that it wasn't for me. So I started trying to like pitching international organizations on tech, on politics, and on business. So the one that clicked was tech journalism. So I was able to like get my pitch in, and I got commissioned to write about tech in Africa for international publication. So that's how I started my tech reporting career. So from there, I also feel like I also voted for Quartz Africa. I wrote a newsletter edition for DW, and by I think October of that year of September, I got my job at Tech Habal. So I think last month I left my job at Tech Habal after a year and 6 months, and yeah, I think we're up to date now. I think that's all about me generally. So I'm a writer, I'm a journalist, and I'm a researcher, and everything in between.
That's amazing. Cool, cool. I want to ask, right? How did you get the confidence to immediately start, right? Because it sounds like you just literally jumped right into it as soon as you were, old enough and employable. So did you study writing in school, or did you just like practice on your own till you felt you were confident and good enough, or did you just
Okay,
like throw it out there, or because you were naturally talented, it just was going? What do you think was the case for you?
exactly both. It's both. So I knew I was good in writing. I knew I was good in writing, and I also studied mass communication. So I studied mass communication at university.
That explains a lot. Yeah.
So yes, I think a lot of people say that. They say that. So I studied mass communication in Lagos State University, and I happened to graduate with the first class. So I kind of understand the job, and I went to school to like learn the job. So I went to school to literally learn how to write and how to report. So I think that has been helpful for me. Even though yeah, I have to do a lot of personal um learning. So I do a lot of personal learning. So um after the 4 walls of the school, I if I want something, I go ahead and learn about that thing. So regardless of what I was taught in school.
Awesome. That's a beautiful story. All right, man. I think we're caught up. We've understood Sultan, like where he's coming from and how he's been able to boost his career up to this point. So I think I'm ready to hear you listen. So to hear you speak rather. So let's get to it. So
Okay,
guys,
so
if you're
thank
new here, we're speaking. Sorry, bro. We're speaking to Sultan Quadri. He's gonna be teaching us about. I don't want to say teach, but he's just gonna be sharing his insight on content writing because I don't think you can teach the entire length and breadth of this thing in
you.
in a few minutes, right? So, he's gonna be sharing his perspective on how to be a good content writer, especially right now. So I think this is important for everybody. So let's jump in. If you're also on the stage, please let's see some feedback, let's see some comments, and let's get the energy going. All right, take it away, Sultan.
Okay, thank you very much, Jesus. So, hello everyone. As earlier introduced, my name is Sultan Quadri. I'm a journalist and I'm also a writer. Today, I'll be taking a course on or a session on content writing, and I'll just try to go over content writing, talk about why it is important, why you should do it, why you should do it well, how we can do it well, and how you can get the best out of content writing. So, today's topic is doing content writing right. I sound like a lecturer, but I don't care. I don't care.
It doesn't matter.
So I hope everyone is following. So one thing I see content as writing as is that it is used to propel your career and your ideas. So previously, people that could publish content to the public are established and registered media houses. We have the Guardian, this day, Daily News, and New York Times. They're the only ones that could publish, and they're publishing on hardcover. They're publishing on. You can only get a copy from newspaper stand. But now the internet has democratized writing. You can and anybody can write now. Anybody can use content to talk about what they are doing, what they are trying to do, or how they are trying to do it. And I feel like everyone should tap into it because it's a very very valuable tool, and which I'm going to like go into later during the course of my lesson of my session. So I think about 3 million news articles are published offline and online every 24 hours. 3 million news articles are published. It means that lots of people want to say something. People want to influence people. You want to entertain people. You want to educate people. You want to make people love you. And how do you do that? You do that by writing to them, by making them understand you. So everyone from your bedroom, you can just take your phone, you type on your Medium on your Substack, then you publish. Then someone in another state, in another part of your state, someone in another country, someone in another continent will stumble on your content and would want to connect with you. And there have been multiple cases where people get accommodations, job recommendation, even scholarship recommendations from based on what they've written. So and another one point that I would love to make very early is that the world wants to hear your story and opinion. So many people like feel like they don't have anything worth reading. It's a lie. The biggest barrier to creativity or writing creatively is self censorship. People feel like, oh, yeah, I'm not supposed to write this. I'm not the one. I'm not the one. I'm not the one qualified to write this story, to write this article. But I'm saying it's a lie because you are smart enough and you can be the right person to write this story. And even if you don't feel like it now, by the time you write, you fail, you fall, and with time you too you will find your footing. So most people that build audiences, like audiences, with writing, they didn't start perfect. They started with errors. They started with not having their thoughts together. But with time, they found their footing, and the writing has changed life. So I don't know anyone that reads, for example, the Atlantic. So sometimes when I feel confused about something, I just Google the Atlantic and keywords, and I read something that really points me in the right direction. So writing does not only just educate you or entertain you, it can also motivate you and also like suit you in a way, it's like therapy. So it's either you are the one receiving therapy or you're administering that therapy to other people through your writing. So I think I'll go to my next slide now. So why should you write? I'm sorry. So why should you write? So what are the incentives of writing? For one, writing helps with clear thinking, and clear thinking is the basis for all great ideas. So if you want to um do anything, if you want to start anything, you need to write. You need to jot down something. You have to put your thoughts down. And you also have to think. At least everything starts from thinking. Even after hours it's a bit of thinking. So Jesus thought one day and said, okay, let's create something that you bring together creatives and we teach ourselves things. Then that's the idea. And of course he wrote it somewhere because I got a brief. I got a brief. And of course I'm sure that brief helped him in crystallizing his thoughts, helped him better seeing how we can make this a reality, and yet is a reality. So writing can have that effect. So another incentive of writing is writing can also popularize ideas. Um, we have things like the Satoshi Bitcoin white paper. So if you are new to Bitcoin, people say, oh, go and read the Bitcoin white paper. People can say, oh, people are always referencing Satoshi because they've read about him probably via the white paper itself or on the website. But it is important to understand that it is exactly um, writing that popularized Bitcoin. Without the white paper, I'm not sure those people would understand Bitcoin or even try to get into it. So writing is very very important to popularizing ideas. So if for example you're a creative, you are a sort of founder, you want to what do you call it? You want to let people know about what you're building. The easiest way to do is writing. You don't have to be a long post, man. Just take your phone, write on Twitter, write on your WhatsApp, write on your Instagram. So I think we all know how posts go viral. So your post can go viral, and that's because you wrote it down. If all it was a thought in your head or thought in your head, no one will know about it. But until you write it down, that's until when it gets popularized. So another incentive is writing is just to explain complex ideas, even to investors, colleagues, and audiences. If I start a founder or you work in tech world, or you own a business, you need to document your progress, document your challenges to your investors. Or if you are working as in 9 to 5, you need writing to carry your colleagues along. If you are someone that works as a creative, both visual, both audio, both print, you need to write. You need to explain what you are creating. You need captions. Those captions, those subtitles, they go a long way in explaining what you are trying to communicate to your audience. So another incentive of writing is reflection. Writing is reflective. And why is reflection a good thing? It's a powerful tool because it helps in looking back, taking a step back to look at things that you've done. Then you can later make better decisions and think differently about old topics. And I think we can all agree that if you want to like make any invention or make anything great, you must always think outside of the box or think differently. And by writing, you can do that. It's easier to do that because you you are trying to understand yourself, understand your experience. So it helps with that. So another incentive is writing can signal competence and industry expertise. So if you want to be known for something, known for Web3, for Bitcoin, for the metaverse, for DAOs, for DeFi, by writing on it, people know that once we want to hire somebody around that, probably this your guy, this is your guy for DeFi, this is your guy for Metaverse, this is your guy for Bitcoin. This guy is competent at his job because he thinks about this topic. Whatever topic you are thinking about, it makes sense to write about it because no one can tell what you benefit from it. No one can tell where your writing will get to and who will want to work with you. So there's someone that he wrote an essay on Medium, and he got about 3 million views. And after a few months or thereabout, he got commissioned to write an entire book. So you now can tell he signaled what he wrote there. Just he signaled that he understood what he was trying to explain, and he got him a book deal. So I think that can happen if you're lucky and if you're persistent with your writing. So I hope we are all following. I hope I was clear enough with this slide.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah, I think that was definitely important because, like, understand why something is important for us to even pursue, like, whatever it is. So, you said everything begins with a thought, and writing helps
Exactly,
us crystallize those thoughts, right? But then, even
exactly,
taking it
exactly,
a step forward, writing also helps you popularize the thoughts that becomes an idea. And then, when it
exactly,
becomes an idea, it helps you break it down because it might be complex for some people. Yeah, I think
exactly.
we're definitely following a journey here, and yeah, you're making sense. Go ahead.
Okay, great, great. So my next slide. So the writing process. The writing process is it starts from imagination, starts from the thoughts of your head. You say you want to write about content writing. Um, then you thought about it, then you start writing. Start from that, from imagination, from the thoughts. For example, me when I was writing this slide, I started thinking about content writing. I down to the point where I have an error-free draft. Down to the part where I have a slide for you that is error-free, at least to the best of your efforts. So now proper to the writing process. It starts from pre-writing to drafting to revising to editing. And another point to make that's important to make is that writing is recursive. The writing process is recursive because you are going in and out of the process. So it doesn't follow. So what I'm trying to explain is that so after drafting at your revising stage, you can always go back to your drafting stage or go back to your and go to your editing stage. So go back to your drafting stage when you find out that you need more ideas or more sentences. So you can always go back and forth to the different stages of writing. So your pre-writing stage is the stage where you start thinking about a topic. When you start thinking about a topic, you start thinking, what should I write? What should I include in this what you call in this topic? You start brainstorming generally. How should I go about this topic? Is there a new way I can think about this topic that no one has talked about? How can I? You just generally think that you are just thinking about a particular topic and how to address it. Then after doing that the thinking part, then you get your hands dirty by researching it. And by researching is where you go use Google, you go through reports, website articles, try to understand what you are trying to write about, try to get points, try to get data, then start taking notes. So for example, maybe you want to take a note that 3 million people read articles every day. So you jot your important data points, you jot down important insight down. Then you also talk to other people that can give you point and insight. So of course, you don't know everything about a topic, and of course, it's very useful to get other people's insight. So some part of it of a topic that you might not understand, or you might not just see that part of a topic that you might not just see. By talking to others and including your friends or even experts, by talking to experts that have more experience in that industry than you can get more insight, and your writing can be more useful for you. Then you also outline. So your outline is just like a rough arrangement of how your writing will go. So how your content will be. So you are saying probably you start with what is content writing, incentive for content writing, writing process, blah 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 blah. Then you gather information about how can everything come together. So yeah, the providing stage is basically gathering information together. Um, just somewhere, it might be on your phone, might be on your jotter or wherever. Now the next thing is drafting. Drafting is now where you now put those ideas, everything that you've gathered by researching online, by speaking with people, by just start putting down those ideas into sentences and paragraphs. So at the drafting stage, it's advised that you don't really worry about the quality of your writing. You don't if you even if the writing is not like you're not feeling the writing, if you're writing rubbish, don't bother. Just draft it. Draft it first. Then you now go back to revise. Now this is the revising stage. The writing stage is the third stage. This is where you make adjustment to your writing. You remove ideas that um do not really tally what you're trying to say. You remove ideas that might confuse the reader. You remove everything that will that 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 will that would confuse your reader. So you ensure that you only leave content that would make your readers get the best out of your writing. You only leave out content like that. So the next here is editing stage, which is the last stage. Is where you check your writing for grammar and spelling. So you check for errors, you look for concord. Yeah, you're advised to use active voice as against passive voice. So that is just saying that instead of saying Sultan ate rice, you can it's clearer to the reader when you say Sultan ate rice instead of the rice was eaten by Sultan. That's a passive voice. So the active voice is something that you should always like go through by your work and see that most of your at least most of your sentences are in active voice. So I think that's
Awesome.
like
Okay, wait, I want to stop you for a second so that we can just unwrap some of the things that you said. Right.
okay,
So the writing process, right? Does it
okay,
apply to every single type of writing? Because we've heard you say a few things, right? Some of the things that have stood out to us are publishing, right? So if I understand correctly, publishing is writing something that goes on a mass platform, right? So like an
yeah, yeah,
article or like a newspaper or something like that, right?
yeah, yeah.
Now, what other styles of writing have you come across? Because obviously there are people um who write tweets, right? There are people who write Instagram captions, there are people who do copywriting and all of that, right? So for all these different needs, is it the same writing process that you use for all of them, or is this specially for one type of writing process? That's my first question. The second question was when you were talking about um the revising stage, right? You said a lot about putting yourself in the reader's mind, right? So making sure that it's comfortable enough for the reader, it's clear for the reader. What are some ways to put yourself into that reader's perspective, right? So if you can just
Exactly.
explain those two things before we move forward.
Okay, for the first one, it is for the first one. Can you repeat the question again? First, for the very first question, I think I have.
No problem. The first question was like, is it the same process for all types of writing? So whether you are publishing, whether you're
Yes,
writing
yes.
an Instagram caption.
It is a standard process. So if you are writing a WhatsApp piece or let's say for example
A
an Instagram
broadcast
caption,
message about misinformation.
you think about what you are writing about, you draft it, put everything together, then you say like, oh, this idea, people, this might confuse people, or people don't need to hear about this. You just remove it, or this might raise questions that do not really make sense. You move that line or you move that sentence away. Then you edit. Look at where are the errors in this writing. Then you send it to your podcast. So it's a standard process. That's why I made it very simple. There's some list that might include other things, but this is like a standard process, and it's like really encompassing because of course you are pre-writing, you are thinking, you are drafting, you are revising, and you are also editing your writing. So this is the standard process for writing generally.
All right, perfect. And I think like this, because now I'm thinking about it, every single time that I've written, and I didn't even know about these steps. I mean, I knew them, but like I didn't follow them really.
You can use these steps without even thinking about them, like without thinking about it.
Exactly.
It's just
Yeah.
this is just everyone uses the step, but not everyone will know about the step. So it's until you want to teach people, you want to like talk about it, then you know
There you
now like
understand.
what's it
Makes
called,
sense.
think about it and write it down. So yeah, I think the second question is the revising stage. So what you want from your writing? So for every writing, you have an aim for every writing that you do. So you want people to understand something, entertain them or educate them. So your readers have needs. Your reader might want to be entertained, might want to laugh, might want to be humored, might want to be educated. Then you have to ensure that your writing kind of fits your audience needs. I would not want to jump the gun, but that can also mean your tone of writing. So some writing are the educative, the argumentative, some are entertaining, some are educative, some are very serious, some are formal, some are informal. So start thinking about, okay, I've written down the text. So the draft stage is just putting down the text. The revising stage is you now coming now and say, okay, let me give life to the text. So you're giving life to the text by revising it. You're putting down the text. There are a bunch of random text on your screen. By revising it, you are giving it life. You're making it more lively. You're making the readers really enjoy what you're writing. So what you do is that you ensure that your argument makes sense. So if you are saying something, you ensure that um if you make a line of a point, you think about your readers. Do they need does this one line, does it explain this idea? Do I need to write one more line of explanation? Do I need to write an entire paragraph of explanation? Do I need to develop this paragraph more? Do I need to speak more about this idea that I introduced? So if you introduce an idea in your drafting, your drafting phase, then you write that, this idea needs more fleshing out. Then fleshing out at that revising stage. If the idea does not really make sense, you move the idea away from writing. So it won't stop your readers from enjoying your writing. So generally, what you do at the writing stage is just to organize your writing. So at the writing stage also you adjust your paragraphs. So if you have a paragraph if you have something at the top paragraph and you realize like it might do better as a second paragraph, you make that change. That's not editing, that's revising. So it might change your first paragraph to your third paragraph, the third paragraph to your first paragraph, until you feel like it is really making sense and it is really communicating what you want it to communicate.
Perfect. I think you answered that amazingly. We have another question from someone in the comments. So they want to ask what the difference between plain language and active voice is when you're writing, because there's a lot of talk on plain writing nowadays when it comes to technical writing. So maybe you can also explain what technical writing is as well for anybody who might not know. Is the question clear, or should I repeat it?
So from the
Okay.
first one. The first one is plain language and active voice. I don't know what you mean by plain language, but active voice is just you saying something in a direct voice. So you're talking you are the person the subject is being expressed as doing the activity. So what I'm saying is that Sultan ate rice. Sultan held his laptop. Sultan sold his laptop. The subject is at the beginning of your sentence. For passive voice, the places are being switched. So what that means is that you now say the laptop was sold by Sultan. So it's advised that you use active voice because it makes your writing clearer to um to the reader. And what another thing that I'm trying to explain that you might mean by plain language is probably you when people say you should write as you speak. I don't know if I'm clear there, if I'm making sense there. But I think some people say if you're writing very informal, I can use plain language in quotes. So you write as you speak. You can say you don't comment. So that's plain like writing as understood here. It probably meaning it's probably the writing that software developers do where they document their processes. So that's what I'm understanding as technical writing here. I don't know if I'm correct, but and if you are doing technical writing, you have to you can't use plain language as I've explained. You have to be very concise, like go straight to the point. Use the language that people that are writing for understand. Just straight to the point. You don't need to use plain language. Don't worry too much about active voice because you're explaining something, you're explaining a technology, you're explaining a process. So, Okochi, let me know if if I answered the question correctly.
Awesome. All right, thank you for that. I think it sounds good to me. So, one last thing I just want to add is from my own writing experience, like I've always found that
Okay,
the first time you write something, like
okay.
you should never publish it, right? And I don't know if this is a general rule, and tell me if you experience it, right? I always like find that when I step away from something, even when I finish like the pre-writing, the drafting, editing, and all that, right? I find out that when I step away from it and come back with a refreshed mind, there's always like some new insight or something to change. So, is that something that's
Yes.
unique with me, or do you think that that's a skill that writers should have in mind, right? So, just like revising constantly and like just keeping some room for improvement. Is that something you've noticed in your journey as well?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you are correct. That is standard to be honest. Good writing is most people say it's just you revising and revising and revising and editing, revising and editing. That's what good writing generally is. When you put your draft down, it is mostly shit. You not like it. You look like something you cannot even go back to. When you go, you leave and you come back, you start seeing that. Oh yeah, let me make this change. You start looking better in your eyes. In fact, I love the editing process more than the writing process. In fact, I want like the drafting process. I don't. I prefer the editing process because It's intriguing because what we wrote that was just mid that was mid before. By the time you edit it, it started making sense. In fact, as a journalist, I work with editors. So what that meant was that after writing, after going through the four stages myself, I would give my editor who would revise and edit himself. So it's always useful get another pair of eyes. If you cannot get another pair of eyes, a friend or a family friend, um, you can always do it yourself. Like you said, you go and you come back, then you see new things. So Okoti is asking, Amazing Grace is asking, how do you know that writing is done and complete? Now, this is a very, very interesting question. You said I said writing is all about revising, and you also said that you leave your writing and you come back to it and you see you get new insight and you make changes. Too much of everything is a bad thing. I know everyone have heard that. That's a cliche. So if you revise too much and hold off publication is not the right thing to do. So you revise as much as you can. Then after a while, don't hold your writing. Don't keep it in draft for a year. Like I did that before. I wrote something. I didn't feel like it was right. I just left it in my draft and I published after a year. Don't be like me. Once you write, and for me, I know that my writing is complete when I feel like maybe 80%. It's just like a feeling that most of it that you want to see are already in it. Like as much as I can remember, everything that can think of that I want to include in the writing is already there. I look at the text, I feel like satisfied. I don't want to sweat it. I don't want to sweat it, so I publish. So in a true sense, your writing is not always complete. Generally, it's not always complete. It's never complete. Yeah, but you have to publish. Ensure errors are minimal as possible. Then you publish. Don't sweat it. Don't overthink it. Do as much as you can on your piece on your draft. Then you publish. So how do you improve your writing? If you choose to get started, so I think you improve your writing by starting to write. So you write today, write for a couple at least write whenever you want to write, and it's a process. You keep doing something frequently, you get better at it. You get better at it. If you do it well enough, you get better at it. That's why I see writing. When you start writing, start getting insight that nobody will tell you. No one has to tell you that this is how you're supposed to write. But after a while, you start saying, "Oh, this is a better way for me to explain myself." Then, of course, if you're a writer, you are supposed to be a reader. Not all writers are readers, but if you're a writer, it helps to be a reader so you can, in quote, get best practices. So you see how other people are writing their stuff, you read what they're writing, then you can try to incorporate that into your own writing. Then by that, you can always elevate your writing. Okay,
Awesome. Yeah, I'm definitely learning a lot, and I think you're answering perfectly as well. All
okay.
right, let's just do a check-in with everybody. I know a lot of new people have joined in the last 30 minutes, so if you're just joining, you're speaking to Sultan Quadri, who is a journalist and content writer, and he started by telling us a story, how he started, how he fell in love with writing and reading, and since he has been telling us about the writing process, he told us about like the incentives of writing, why it's important to be a writer, and he just went through the four processes of writing, which is pre-writing, drafting, revising, and editing. So if you're enjoying the session so far, just leave some comments and let's proceed.
Okay,
Sultan,
great.
go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Jizzy. So my next slide. So I think for you to write now, if you are just starting to write or you want to write anything, so I think it's useful to have some key writing instruments. So I think I think the number one thing you need is research. To be honest, and primary. So there are two types of research. There's primary and secondary research. Primary research is you going to speak with going to speak with experts, going to speak with those involved in what you're writing. So as a reporter, when I say primary research, if I have to if for example I want to write about page stack, I interview page stack co-founder. That's primary research. If I want to write about floats, I interview Gizzy himself and call, hey Gizzy, let's have a call for 30 minutes. I want to get some information about you, about float, about after hours. That's the primary research. So secondary research is what most of us do. So secondary research is you looking for information on Google, using reading news articles, reading tweets that other people wrote, reading journals, reading research papers, and the likes. So secondary research are knowledge that are information that you did not gather yourself. They gather by somebody credible. Then now you're using it. So that's the distinction between the two. So I think that you also need is your voice and tone. So I think this area, um, your voice, so voice and tone can mean the same. They can mean the same thing. So your voice can be personal. If you are trying to connect with your readers on a very personal level, and if you are trying to, for example, talk about yourself, your personal experience, I think the best way to do that is to be personal with your tone. You're talking about your career, about how you surmounted some challenges in your career, how you're growing up, your childhood story. It's very useful to use personal. So hopefully your readers can see themselves in you. So you try to connect with them on a personal level. You can be positive, might try to gloss about things, to like promote an idea or a product or whatever. You're positive. Can be negative and bash the product. Can be serious and use corporate speak. We know how we speak in corporate world. Try to keep everything formal. Of course, serious formal kind of can be interchanged. Can be entertaining, put in humor here and there, try to be funny. Can be educating where you put probably if for example you're writing okay 5 tips on how to become a better content writer. That's educating. Your readers know that when they read your content that they are going to live with at least 5 steps on how to become a better content writer. Can be formal, like I said, formal, go straight to the point, nothing personal, just go ahead, discuss your idea and leave. Informal is like personal too. You're using uh, you're using words, you're using colloquial, you're using a total, you're using colloquial, you're using street language in quotes. So there isn't internet lingo. For example, it is given. If I write an informal piece, can use it is given. Let's fucking go. Like just use language that your audience can relate with on a personal level in an informal setting. You don't have to be formal. You can be optimistic. You can be assertive. It can be encouraging. You can be optimistic in terms that like, okay, oh yeah, this course is going to become better in the next 5 years. Can be assertive and say, oh yeah, this is what I want. This is my idea. Everyone should follow my idea. You can you can be encouraging. You can try to get people that loves their money to crypto. That no, this is there's going to be a bull run in the future. You can encourage them. They might agree with you. Can be curious. Can write a piece where what we are trying to do is just to explore a question. Then in turn, your readers also think about the question. In fact, you are presenting yourself as a curious person, then you are also helping your readers become curious. So the next instrument is a word register or a word list.
Sorry, Sultan, I just want to cut you for a second, right? So I want to talk about like voice and tone, like
Okay.
with my own personal experience, because when I was very young, because I grew up on a lot of like surrealism, right? Which was like this dark, like yeah, dark, twisted, like the world is ending type of like content. I started
Okay.
out writing like that, right? So a lot of my early teenage writing, I'm never going to share that link with anybody. I've scrubbed it away from the internet. It will never be found.
Wow.
But But I had a WordPress. I had a WordPress blog growing up, right, where I used to write about a lot of dark things, right, and that shaped
Okay.
my writing until I became a lot older. And then I remember I had a remarkable change when I discovered Web3, right? Because like I had gone from sort of like pseudo serious writing to seeing community building like
Okay.
writing. So the writing that comes from like community building, especially like in Web3 and like this decentralized ecosystem, is WAGMI basically, like the WAGMI culture. So it was
Right.
like everyone's typing in lowercase, like people are not really punctuating properly, like everyone's like using slangs and different things. And it was a bit refreshing, but I had like a how do I say it? Like I had a conflict, right? Because it seems like it was breaking all the rules of everything I knew about writing. But right
Okay.
now I've become a lot more comfortable in
I'm
terms of like
open.
just finding a voice in between, right? So sometimes like you want to write, but like you have to be serious, right? But other times you need to find a way to mirror the tone so that there's a balance, right? And since we launched floats, like we've actually created our own like unique language. I don't know if people are able to tell, but there's like a tone that we use, which is like a bit of seriousness, but also like a mix of just like technical, like Okotie said. So I think everybody should find a way to get with the times because obviously, like a lot of people, the first way that they will interact with your thing, whether it's your product or your brand or whatever, is the way that you write it and the way that you communicate it. So I think everybody needs to find their unique voice, right? So if you're writing, find a voice that people can, if they see a tweet from you without your name, they can tell that, oh, this thing came from this person, right? And that's just a challenge I want to put out there for everybody. So let's look into tones. Let's look into like different types of voices and find the one that works for us because I don't really think that there's a right or wrong way, especially right now on the internet. So
So
yeah.
I'm glad you figured it out yourself. I think you figured it out already. So I think already you know that okay, there is this serious tone, but now it's in this industry that I'm working. It's a lot more informal. So you already know how to like to juggle both worlds already, and you've also like incorporated that into what Fruits is doing. So I thank you for that, Gizzy, for explaining that. That's a very, very good example that you've even given that you not even bother to give. So that makes so much sense. So I'm going to go ahead and explain what list and register. So a register, I don't know if you all came across this word in secondary school. A register is just a list of words that the audience that are writing for is familiar with. If you're writing for Web3, want me like GC said, that's like boom on there are lots of words that you know that if I write about DeFi, the key words of your audience must be in your piece. If you're writing for photographers, use photography language. If you're writing for videographers, use videography language. If you're writing for tech founders, use their language. If you're writing for students, use their language. So it's important that you use your register because it's it help you get through to them. You start feeling like you're like them. You're like, oh yeah, this person is like me. This person writes like me. Let's hear what he has to say, and that ultimately helps you fulfill your goals, your writing goals. So first of all, you have to like get through to them. You have to feel like, oh, this person really understands me. Let me read what he's writing. Then they take it in. Then you achieve your writing goals. So next one is punctuation. So this is like minor to some people, but your punctuations really matter. If it's all over the place, your writing will be confusing. Your readers will not even they will not stay more than three paragraphs. They'll just leave. Just punctuation, good punctuations, your comma, your semicolon, your colon, your full stop. Use your full stop very well. Let your readers know when you're ending or starting a new sentence. I think that's that for my key writing instruments. I think these are the basic ones, and there might be more, but for the purpose of this class, these are the ones that I researched and wrote about. So Now this is like we are getting to the end of the what do you call it, of the class of the session. I think I want everyone to know that if you are writing, writing is not enough. Do good writing. You can write on wherever, and because writing is a very serious, it's very serious business. It's very stressful. We are thinking, we are cracking your head job. You put it down. So why if it's something you want to do, I think like they say, what is worth doing is worth doing well. You just say you write. So you have to go from writing stuff to writing good writing. Good writing is only, and that's what like we say I think about. You say good writing is only, not only because we are a media firm. Of course, it helps us in becoming well known all over the continent, but it also helps eliminate ambiguity. Right, your writing is not confusing to your readers. Sometimes you read something like this, you don't be having a headache, you just leave it. So, right, so some people write, you can't go past 3 paragraphs. But if writing is good, it helps your audience understand the content better. It also helps you build a better connection between you and your audience. So these are what good writing is good for. So don't just do writing, do good writing.
Should I give you guys an example of how you should not write? Like, don't write like Portable when he's giving his Instagram caption. Because when you said like some people give you headache, when I read Portable's caption, I just have headache sometimes. So like, or people who write like in all caps lock, like it's as if they are using a hammer to hit your head as they're writing. So yeah, that's awesome.
You can't stop now.
So
Oh
that's interesting. Are you done with your slides, or you need to keep going, right? Go ahead
go
now.
for flight,
Yeah.
bro. Let me wrap up. I have a few slides left.
Okay, sure, no problem. So, guys, let's start getting our questions ready for Sultan.
Yes,
Any
please.
question at all related to writing, from your writing experience, how to get better at writing, and even if you don't have questions, comments, anything, just let us know that you're here and you're enjoying the session.
Oh, good. So I said good writing is holy. So I think I felt it was imperative to also like talk about how does good writing look like, because I know that people would want to ask. So you say, oh, we should do something. How do we recognize that this thing is good writing? One thing is that the first point is good writing is clear. Once you are doing something that is free flowing, it is direct to the point. You are reading it, you are not having a headache, you are reading, you understand what is being said. It is good writing. Good writing is basically just saying what you want to say as it is. You write your writers, your readers understand on what you are trying to say. They are not confused. Also, good writing is clear in the sense that your writing has a sharp edge. So you major point of your you major the major point of what of your content, the article, is not confusing. Some people will write and you will not really understand their main point because it is all over the place. There are different ideas that they're trying to like put in just one article, and it becomes very very confusing because writing is basically, if you're writing an article from top to bottom, everything you're writing has to be connected in a way. So there has to be a central idea. You might be tempted to go to move away from that central idea maybe because you're in a writing frenzy. But in your writing stage, you have to go back and say, "Oh, this thing doesn't really fit well in my what I'm trying to say." You just remove it. So it has to be clear. The sentence has to be clear. The paragraph has to be clear. The entire article, the entire content has to be clear and be pointed at a single major point. Secondly, good writing is easy to understand and fun to read. That's really good writing to be suiting you. You're enjoying yourself. Like, oh, yeah, this is good. This is good. Oh, yeah, I'm enjoying this. It doesn't feel like an hassle. It don't feel like you're stressing yourself. It doesn't feel like a lot of work. So the next point is that good writing says exactly what it intends to say. and it does it in the exact way it wants to say it. If you want to say A, don't go and say B. If you want to say B1, don't go and say B2. So that's the way it is. Good writing is saying this thing and this thing only. No, or no, or there's no like confusion about what exactly you're trying to say. Good writing says so basically what you're trying to do is just take what you've thought in your head, put it down on paper, and get your audience to understand that. And you can only get your audience to understand it by saying exactly what you intend to say. If you feel like you're not, so sometimes you're right. They're like, oh, this is not what I want to say. Then I keep editing. I remove an entire sentence, remove a portion of the sentence, just to say, just to like get that message across. Because sometimes your draft might not really come out the way you what you call it, the way you thought about it in your head. I know this happens to everyone. Think about something for like 30 minutes. It's making sense. Let's say 11 to 30 minutes, then if you fall flat, it's very, very mid. That's because good writing takes time. It takes revising. It takes you being intentional about what you want to say and how you want to say it. So the next point is good writing contains little to no grammar and spelling error. Writing has to pass the grammar and spelling check. That's the vibe check that you want in your good writing. It has to be correct. The grammar has to be correct. Look for errors. Also, like I said earlier, use active voice instead of a passive voice for your writing. So I think we come to the end of this slide. This is my next slide, and I think this is okay. Yeah. So you're writing toolbox. So you can either use Microsoft Word. This is not advert. This is not paid advert. I'm not getting paid for this.
Are you sure Microsoft didn't drop like 10K for it? Just like
you can use Microsoft Word. You can use Google Docs. Google Docs allows you to like partner in real time with people that you're working with. So I use Google Docs a lot. Microsoft Word, it's scary because the document can get lost. If your laptop gets stolen, the time I was doing school coursework, it was supposed to be I think a 3,000 word, 5,000 word investigative story for school, and my laptop was stolen like a few weeks to submission, and I had to start all over again. But it was only the content that I had written on my Google Docs that I could access after my laptop was stolen. So you can also use editing apps like Amigo Editor or Grammarly. Amigo Editor it's a website. You just Google it and you can just paste the content on it to help you highlight errors, places that you just need to change and make adjustments. It helps you revise and editing. You can also use Grammarly. Grammarly also does that. It helps you edit your content, help you revise your content. It also helps you like as you're writing in real time, just help you edit. It helps you this now is not appropriate for this for this sentence. This verb is not appropriate for this sentence. It makes important corrections for you. And if you have money, you can pay for premium Grammarly. If you have money like Jizzy now, you have money to do that. So you have
this guy, me that is about to ask for funds. Solicit your funds.
so wow, I'm surprised though. Later we'll talk about that later. So for people that want to do more personal writing, or just want to get your thoughts outside, and you want to write content that are longer than threads or say Facebook post or Instagram post, you can start using Substack or Medium to just get your total. They are online, they are self-publishing apps, self-publishing platforms. So they are free. They are both free. You open your Medium account, start writing, just type away. Open your Substack, start typing away. And I added music last because it's not only music. Anything that helps you relax should be in your toolbox. Maybe it's a quiet environment that helps you relax. Just it might not be around the environment, depending on your person. It might be a well lit environment, it might be a dark room. Some writers use dark room. I think Elogosa Sunday she the Nigerian fiction writer, she uses that, I think she stays in dark room for days and for weeks, and all she does is just write. So you just get your opium in that sense, that can help you relax and write. It's not that serious. Something that can just help you just stay focused till you're done. So I feel like I'm done with my slides. Thank you everyone for listening. It has been over 70 minutes, an hour and 10 minutes of me just talking.
It
Um,
didn't even really feel like that.
oh, I
Amazing.
agree. I really love that it didn't feel like that, at least to you. So you can connect with me on Instagram, on Twitter, and on LinkedIn. I'm active everywhere. Just follow, follow back. You can text me if you have any question. I can get back to you, and yeah, I'm gonna be happy. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. I have a few more questions, and we still have some questions here. So maybe we can just use the next few minutes to do that.
Okay,
So
great,
let's
great,
answer
great.
some questions in the comments, and then I'll ask you like two, three questions, and we can call it a night.
Okay,
So
great,
Kemi
great.
said, how can you share any tips on fictional writing, like when you want to write using another personality from yours? That's an interesting question.
Okay, yeah. Creative writing is um, it's more what you call imaginative. So you are expected to, for example, just think beyond what you know. Think about. So you are like building in creative writing. You are building a story. You are building the plots. You are building characters. You are building a character called Sultan. Sultan is a 20-year-old footballer with 16 wives. You have to be very creative with your characters. You have to be creative with your timeline. Sultan was so your what do you call it, your creative writing has to be set in time period. Is it in the medieval times? Is it in ancient times? Is it in the 21st century? Is it futuristic? Is it in 2060 or 2000? And maybe by then we have flying cars. So it depends. You are also expected to also be creative with your language. There's a lot of emphasis on your language. How you use language to impress your readers, or to even just wrap your readers in. Just make your readers feel something. So content writing is majorly educative in a sense. The term or it's majorly educative, informative. But creative writing is it's more emotional. It's trying to help people feel something. It can be educative because there's something that I learned only from reading. For example, when I read Americana by Chimamanda Adichie, I really learned a lot. I learned a lot about something that I really wanted to learn about. When I read half of the Yellow Sun, I learned a lot about the Biafra War. I read about it online, in journals, even in actual books by like likes of Machilon. But reading it in fiction, having them talk about characters that really lived that period, it felt very, very personal. So, okay, it's very, very personal. You're really trying to like, connect to your readers, trying to appeal to the emotional sense, to their imagination generally. You're being imaginative, and you're expecting your readers to also be imaginative in that sense. So now to Okotie's question. Can I take that, Jizzy?
Yes, yes, perfect. Love your answer. Yes, let's move on. Okocho says,
So,
how do you build an audience with writing in this day and age?
um, okay, for example, on Medium, so I was reading something on Medium yesterday by someone that I follow for a bit, and I realized that wasn't just one person, but multiple people. I realized that the writings that really do well on Medium are writing that are very, very personal. And very personal writing, you share something very deep about yourself. Also, you have to be card rate. You have to be very vulnerable. You have to be willing to be vulnerable if you want to do that. So you do very personal writing. You're kind of ruminating. You're thinking about a lot of things. Then you're sharing insight because there's a feature called highlighter. So you can highlight what you call it. You can highlight key insight. So reader can highlight key insight in your writing. So they want to see the world from your own eyes. That brings me back to your question. So if you want to build an audience, it means that you have to be able to help your readers see the world from your own eyes. You have to form a very, very personal kind of connection. So personal connection, helping them see the world in your own eyes because there's no two people like you. So it's exciting. It's just like you're watching a gossip channel and you're
Oh god, I think Sultan just like mega rocked. Okay, that's crazy. Um, I'm gonna try and hold it down to see if he comes back. But if he doesn't, uh, we should be getting ready to wrap up the session. So, I just want to go over everything that we've talked about so far in the last couple hours. Um, okay, I think he's back.
so I'm back. I dropped off for a bit.
No problem. Welcome. All right.
So I was explaining how we can build an audience with your writing. So just be unique, and it's the reason why it's the reason why we. I know why Kuti is marrying. I know why he's laughing. So I think that's why we love people like Kuti. Kuti is she just makes you see yourself in her. So you have to like replicate that in your writing generally. Scotty uses videos. You can use your writing to build that kind of audience. People really like you because they build your writing. There are people that I like solely based on what they write on their medium, actually. And on Substack, you can. I don't think you have to be totally be personal. You might just be a subject matter expert. Might be all you want to. Might just open a Substack where you write about Web3 alone. Then you just do a series of articles on Web3, well researched, lots of insights. Then little by little, people start trooping in. Then you build your audience. On 50, 100, 1,000, as much as you want, as much as you can get. Then of course, there are things. There are life lessons, general lessons to work and life, like consistency. Anything like if you want to get something done, you have to be consistent with it. People have to see that you do this thing. You have to kind of build the brand. So yeah, generally, yeah.
Perfect. All right, cool. So I have three questions for you, Sultan, and then we'll wrap up the
Yeah,
session. But before we do that, if I have a shameless plug, check out our Substack. So we have a Float has a, and we do actually talk about this a lot, right? But we do have a publication called Horizon. So Horizon goes out once every week, and it talks
okay,
about like the emerging internet, right? So core
good, good.
concepts, things you should look out for, and different kinds of things. So if you want to find out what the float's voice really sounds like, I think you should subscribe to Horizon. So check it out.
Good.
It's floatsanywhere.substack.com. We've been writing consistently for about maybe 3 months now, so there's some backlog of
Wow, wow.
content there. Okay, cool. My questions are my first question is as a writer and a reader, right? How do you like keep yourself updated? Like, so basically, what do you read as Sultan? Like, what are some habits that you have to make sure that you're on the top
Okay,
of your game? So, is it by reading certain people, or is it tweeting? How do you become a bad as fuck writer?
okay. I feel like I think I said this earlier that writers are like readers. I read everything, and for I read
Give
for
us your list. Give us your top five. So, give us
top.
a book that you read. I know you mentioned Half of a Yellow Sun and Purple Hibiscus. Give us
Okay, okay,
five things that you read that blew your mind. So, whether it's
okay,
like publications or books or whatever.
Okay, I think I have some, but before I answer that, I would love to what do you call it? Just talk about how I read. The first question actually. So I basically read for work. So I was a tech reporter, so I had to like read about tech. Then I also do like um personal reading. Personal reading is like what interests me today. I might want to read non-fiction. I might want to read on the internet actually, or read about politics or about economics or whatever I want to read about climate. So I do that. I still do that tonight. I might want to read about AI today because probably Bill Gates published something on AI. Then okay, let me read about AI. But yeah, my list of books that I really like. So I think I mentioned okay one that I read recently. It's called Digital Silk Road. So I think I should type this Digital Silk Road by let's see, Digital Silk Road was written by Jonathan Hillman. I read it and it is about China's rise. And I think people should go. I think people should get that book because it's kind of put into perspective what's happening with TikTok. So in TikTok bosses are going to the U.S. Congress. I think he went to the U.S. Congress this week to testify about TikTok's work and its affiliations with China. So the Digital Secret is a book on China and the rise. And I want to tell you, China is not. They're not joking. They're not. They're not
Just
innocent.
the play.
They're not innocent as people think. They're way worse than your government. So, and there are a lot of atrocities that it changed my mind about how I see internet and tech. Bill Gates and the likes, Steve Jobs were like, oh yeah, the internet will change the world, it will democratize the world. They don't talk about the good that internet will do and tech will do, but they never talk about the negative part, how tech and internet can be used for bad things, and it is in full view in China. It's being used for pretty awful things by about 1 million people are in concentration camps. Just a minority of the country, they are being monitored, they are being camped. There isn't take to monitor them in like a prison. Like everybody put 1 million people in a prison, then just like German refugee camp all over again, and it's all made possible by tech. So tech is a double-edged sword, as I say now. So that's the first one. Second one is Range. Yeah, Range by David Epstein. Range. So Range is just it's just a book where what do you call it? The author he argued that it's better to have knowledge in a wide range of things than to just specialize in something. So the entire idea is that don't specialize early. Do so many things, then after a while, decide to specialize. But don't specialize first. Go have range in the sense, read about economies, about politics, about climate change. Then later you can decide to go and do arts. But don't just go like it's advised that you shouldn't just like specialize early. Yeah, it's advised against specializing early, and also talk about like lot of popular people that didn't really start early. Like even Van Gogh, the, he struggled like the amount of time in that book that I realized, and I think that was inspiring story that I've actually read about a creative. This guy was failing. This guy's uncle had a art gallery. He was working. He was living. Was dwelling. He was around successful artists, but he wasn't successful. He was doing art, but he wasn't. He was mid. He was doing mid art. Yeah, he wanted to do good art, but he did not get to do that kind of art until we failed multiple times for multiple years. Then he redefined art by the time he found his own footing. So I find that very inspirational. Those two books, and I'm also reading The Power Law by Sebastian Malaby. The Power Law. I'm reading the Power Law. That's what I'm currently reading now. The Power Law. It's about venture capital. The Power Law. It's about venture capital, and I don't know if you want VC money, you can read about it. If you want to just learn about venture capital, but it's
I
everywhere.
beg, bro. I beg. That's the one that me I want.
The Power Law by Sebastian Malaby. So Mallaby, Sebastian. So I think there are three books. I think those take those words, please, for me. I told you was remember that I was read that I really liked. Oh yeah, I also enjoyed Sapiens. Sapiens by Yuval Noah. Sapiens, like Homo sapiens. Sapiens by Yuval Noah. Yeah, Sapiens by Yuval Noah. Yeah, I think let me throw in um, a fiction book. I think I really enjoyed reading The Death of Vivek Oji. Yeah, I enjoyed reading it. Yeah, the writing was also good. It wasn't up there like some other book, but it was enjoyable. So the pacing was also very very good. The pacing was very very good, and the for someone like Kemi should probably read um Death of Vivek Oji by Akweke Emezi.
Sorry, can you repeat the name of that book? I don't think I caught it.
The death of Vivek Oji.
The Birth of Vivek Oji.
The
Oh,
death,
Death. Okay, okay, okay.
death of Vivek Oji. I don't know why I cannot comment.
Oh, I've seen it.
Yeah,
I've seen it now.
I just like drop a
Oh,
comment,
that's
but
Akweke Emezi. I think I know that
exactly,
writer.
exactly.
Yeah,
So yeah.
yeah.
So
She's
those are
Nigerian.
five books. I want
I think that was perfect. Thank you so much. I'm definitely going to look into digital Silk Road and range because those two things are things that I've been currently exploring over the last few months. I think my life is a testament of range because like
exactly,
I'm just
exactly. You
I'm an explorer.
right.
Yeah, and the
Exactly.
thing about China, like if anybody wants some more context to what Sultan was talking about, like there is an interesting
So
moment
let me put
happening
this
right now.
yeah, because
Like,
I don't feel like China do like oh it's very important. It's going to affect us. It's affecting us already. So it's why I actually understood what's going on with China. So I'm also in the tech
yeah,
space. And also for work and for school and whatever. So like, it's very very good. I think everyone should read it because the Nigeria chapter there they embarrassed that I read it. So yeah,
awesome.
it's
All right, thank you
a
so much. Thank you so much, Sultan. I really enjoyed listening to you speak. I'm sure
yeah,
any day
yeah.
we can say the same.
Because you
All
have a
right,
great
thank
time.
you for your time. Yeah. We're gonna end the session now because I think we've covered everything. So
Yes.
we dropped Sultan's socials earlier. I'm just gonna find a way to bring it back. But follow Sultan on Twitter, on Instagram. Look out for any interesting articles. Start looking for the names of writers, and you might just find that Sultan is one of them. If you were subscribed to Tech About newsletter over the last year or 2 years, you will realize that a lot of the messages that are coming your email were written by him and some of the amazing writers there as well. So um, keep your eyes open for writers. Also, I just want to say like reading is really important. I don't think we can stretch it enough. Okote is a book actually. It's not an article. The digital Silk Road.
Facebook, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's based on the idea of the original Silk Road. So the idea of the Silk Road was a trading
That's it.
post between back in the days between Africa and not just Africa. I don't want to say the wrong thing, but look into the idea of the Silk Road, and then this is like the digital version of it. So it's literally happening again. But yeah, read books. Like everybody said that. FK said it yesterday. Almost all the speakers who have talked on this stage have said the same thing. Read books, read articles. That's the only way to stay on top. That's the only way to know that your ideas are not whack. Like they're actually like globally
Exactly.
focused.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's also a good way to be a writer, a good writer rather. All right, thank you guys. We're back here again tomorrow for the last session of this week, and I believe Miracle is gonna be coming. Please, somebody correct me if I'm wrong. But Miracle is gonna be teaching us about like virtual worlds and introduction to like 3D spaces. That's gonna be a dope space, and it's gonna be interactive as well. So come prepared. Anybody who hasn't caught up with us in the communities, that's like Telegram or Discord, please find a way to join us right now so that you can get the links and the slides and everything when they're ready. We'll get the slides from Sultan and we'll distribute it to everybody so that you can see some of the concepts I was talking about during the call. All right, thank you everybody. Have a great weekend. Thank you, Sultan. Have a great weekend as
Everyone,
well.
have a
See
good
you around.
weekend. Bye.
All right, guys. Good night. Ending the stream.